This is Larry Jordan, the host of the Digital Production Buzz. The following interview is an excerpt from a recent program. To hear the entire program, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. Cirina Catania is the supervising producer of The Buzz, as well as a filmmaker, journalist, and former senior executive with United Artists and MGM. She's also one of the founders of the Sundance Film Festival, and today she's coming to us. I have no idea where Cirina is. We've got to find out. Hello, Cirina, where are you?
Hi.
Hello.
I'm talking to you on my cell phone.
Oh,
from
no.
the East Coast.
From the East Coast. Are we talking?
Yes.
Are we talking Pennsylvania here or New York?
Well, any moment, I think the White House helicopter that proposed, what is it? Patrols every night is going to come right over my head. So we're going to hear a helicopter any minute now. I closed the windows, but it doesn't help because it's pretty close.
Cirina, tonight we've been looking back and looking ahead, looking back at the start of The Buzz and looking ahead at NAB. You've been with The Buzz for almost 9 years. What first got you interested in podcasting?
Oh, my gosh. Well, you know, I started in radio many, many years ago when I was, 20 years old. I worked for AFN in Stuttgart. And so that's what got me started.
I remember you sent me a photograph of you as a DJ. I still have that photograph framed on my desk. It's very cool. So, but what was it that caught your ear about radio? Because television was still going strong then. What was it about audio only?
Well, you know, one thing about audio is you can do anything with it. You could be anybody. You can bring anybody in. In the old days at AFN, we would be playing characters. And so every night we would walk in and somebody would have left us a recording from the night shift. And it was always really fun. I'm still friends with a lot of those people. But podcasting, I remember being at the very first New Media Expo. How many years ago was that? I think podcasting started, well, you covered it earlier in the show, but I remember the lunch that we had 9 years ago when you said you were thinking about getting involved in podcasting and would I be interested? And I said, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that lunch very well.
I remember the New Media Expos.
Yeah.
That was like at
2005
Convention
and
Center
2006.
downtown LA.
Yeah. It was
Right?
huge.
Even before
It was-
that,
it was huge.
it was,
You won the one that's,
and
go ahead, Cirina.
no, I mean, I remember the very first year of the New Media Expo, we were tweeting for the first time. Twitter had just started. And there were maybe 6 or 7 of us in the halls of the New Media Expo tweeting, and nobody knew what it was. Do you know when we started the Buzz, when you started the Larry Jordan version of the Buzz, DSLR cameras had just been invented.
Yeah. To the shock of the video guys in Canada, if I remember correctly, because they didn't even know that camera was coming.
Yeah.
When was it, by the way? Was it 2006, 5, 6?
We took over the show in November of 2007, so we're going on 9 years.
All right.
Cirina was but a child when first we
That
started.
was. She was.
I wish.
She was a teenager.
She was a teenager.
wish.
A Bobby Soxer.
Cirina, you've been producing the show now for forever. What's the process of booking the show? How do you decide what guests to get? Wear your producer hat and explain how that process works.
I think you have to be a bit of a futurist to know how to book the Buzz. You have to be thinking ahead. I've heard a little bit of the show, and we're all talking about what's going to be happening at NAB. But by the time it gets to NAB, it's already here. So if we're going to be one step ahead of the industry, we need to be thinking about what's going to be happening at next year's NAB. So I think Philip's augmented reality discussion was really pertinent. But back to booking the Buzz. I just think about what the future is going to be and go after it. And I'm really proud of the fact that over the last few years, we've done over 1,500 interviews, and almost 1,400 of those are new people that we're bringing in that had not been on the Buzz before. So everything from covering fair use to copyright issues, long before the general public was even really aware of it. We had our noses to the grindstone, and I think that's always fun. That's what makes it fun for me.
Do you have the stats on that? How many shows, how many guests, that kind of thing?
2,100 guests, 2,100, and more than 445 shows.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite bookings? What are some of your favorite guests?
You know, I love when we started talking about copyright issues before other people even knew about it because we could warn our independent filmmakers. But I also love new technology. I like talking about the cinematographers when they come in. Remember when we first started, nobody even knew what bokeh was. So it's just, I can't think of any, but that's asking me who my favorite child is. I can talk about issues. I think that cinematography and the growth in the new cinematography, the new cameras, the new lights, the new technology. Michael, your favorite thing with codecs have changed. The legal issues. There have been some major legal issues. Remember when Ivy started and got kicked out, and people have tried since? Watching the different changes in distribution when Netflix first came about and Amazon and Hulu, and talking to our filmmakers about how to best maximize their business. That's always really good. And when people write in and they say that you have made a difference in their lives in terms of being successful, that means a lot. So I guess those would be some of my favorite topics.
Grant on our live chat also says one of his favorite sessions was Larry's cable winding session, which
Yes.
was one that Mike loved a great deal.
That's what you do at NAB. That's what. Oh my gosh, you have to do that this year. You're gonna be at NAB, and you have to do that. You have to do that like Thursday, right?
I will do that Thursday.
And put it out there. Have everybody come and watch you do it. And I guarantee there'll be 1,000 people there. Everybody wants to see how you can roll a cable
Without having kinks
It's
in it.
important.
Anybody can roll a cable, but not to
No,
have
not
kinks
the
in
way
it.
you do it. The real
It's important,
way.
right? You got to roll it right or you're going to kink it and you won't be able to use it. But, in the last 9 years, we've also watched the NLE wars
Yeah.
between Avid and Premiere and Final Cut. And I think things are settling down now and people are realizing that if you're going to be successful, you really need to know more than
Right.
one.
And that
So-
took a long time. And I don't think it's been fully settled in yet.
Well, a lot of people preached it. It just took a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NAB is less than 3 weeks away, and NAB is my favorite toy store. What are you looking forward to this year?
I really think that I spent a few hours on the Sony lot with Filmlight and Sony a couple of weeks ago and looking at all the new HDR monitors that are out, that the major studios are using color correction on those new monitors, and they're actually correcting now to 1,000 nits.
Well, let's.
Even
let's
though, yeah.
Do you remember who the
So
monitors are made by?
yeah, who the monitors
Sony.
make?
Really?
Sony, yes, Sony has some new monitors, so I'm thinking that they're going to be demoing those at NAB. And I know that it may be a little bit too early for us to think about HDR, but remember a few years ago when we were talking about HD and we were saying no, but I had gone to NAB and been in some meetings and I said, nope, if Sony's developing monitors for HD, then I know the whole industry is going to move towards that. So the major studios right now for films are grading the features for standard def, high def, and also projecting to the future to 1,000. And they're also talking about eventually going to 4,000, but that's going to hurt our eyes. So the contrast ratio in 4,000 is way too high. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of those, of the HDR products. And I think Philip's right on with augmented reality. I think it's a little bit too early for everyone to get involved in VR, but we're moving that way. But I think that for gaming, VR is already there. And I actually bought a couple of Google Cardboards to play with, and the Oculus Rift is fun. It's not like 3D where you have to wear those silly glasses. So I do think, but I
Wait,
think
you
in
wear
the area of
silly
VR, yes, those silly goggles. But when you're gaming, those are really nice.
Yes.
And now they have the games where you're actually totally immersed and you're on treadmills. So not only are you seeing in 360, but you're feeling everything and running, literally physically running in 360. But I think one thing I'm looking forward to this NEB is to see what has happened since CES with 360 sound.
Yeah.
So sound, I think, is going to be important.
We're going to be
And
doing that at
guess-
the Super Meet, too, 360 sound.
Oh, great. That's great.
Now, we've talked so far, with the last session and this session, we've talked drones, we've talked VR, augmented reality, HDR. Is there a trend that we haven't mentioned that you're keeping your eye on that's maybe not hit mainstream but has got some intriguing potential?
Oh, Philip's going to love this. It's metadata. It's the change in the way we use metadata. And I think not just in the
You
way
are
we've been
so
talking
depressing.
about. I know it's your favorite thing, Michael.
Yeah,
but I think,
it's fun.
yeah. Not just the way we use it in production and post-production, but also the way ultimately it's going to be needed for archiving. Because what is the use of archiving millions and millions of hours of footage if you can't find it, right? So I think that's going to be a key. I also think that the new micro cameras, because of the proliferation of drones, the new micro cameras are kind of fun. There are going to be a lot of new micro cameras announced this year. But let me think what else. I think metadata and the way we handle that in production. Of course, I'm a little prejudiced because of my involvement in Lumberjack, but I have seen the way that is changing a lot of the way people shoot.
So are you working on any new projects right now?
Well, I have 3 films in post-production.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 films in post-production, one of which we discussed last year at Supermeet. It's the Chianti story film about the veteran, the Marine corporal who lost a leg in Afghanistan, and that's finally finished. Principal photography's wrapped on that. We're going into post.
Well, that sounds wonderful.
So,
Are you
yeah.
yourself going to be able to make it to NAB? Am I going to be able to buy you dinner there?
Yeah.
Or
Are you going to be
still
there?
debating?
I was going to try to stay home and work on the films, but I think I may leave the crew to do that and come visit at least for a little while.
I hope so.
Michael just inherited a whole lot of money, so he's going to take you out to a very fancy dinner, just to let you know.
Absolutely.
That sounds great.
We are
I
going.
think
We are going to have steak. And
I think NAB is really important for another reason, and that's the personal connection.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that we're going to start seeing, too, is much more inclusion in our industry. A lot of the guilds are getting more and more involved in that, and I think there are going to be a lot of changes. And also, I don't know if we've discussed the new financial models yet, because distribution remains in constant flux. So our financial models that we've been using for the last 9 years are non-existent now. And the struggle between union and non-union, and Michael, I don't know if you agree with me, but I really do think there's going to be a shift more towards union because people are realizing that they need that brotherhood behind them to help support them in a way that being out there by yourself as an independent doesn't often do.
well, it depends on our Supreme Court.
Yeah. Cirina, what website can people go to keep track of what you're thinking about?
They can go to filmvault.us or thecataniagroup.com.
Thecataniagroup.com and Cirina Catania herself. Cirina, as always, a delight working with you. We'll chat with you again soon.
See you in a few weeks,
Thank
Cirina.
you.
Take it
care.
out to
Bye.
NAB.
See you at
Bye.
NAB. Bye.
If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To stay connected and receive updates from The Buzz, sign up for our free weekly newsletter now. Or you can learn more about us on our website. And thanks for watching The Digital Production Buzz.